you have an opportunity to give to the people who gave the ultimate. Find out what it's all about coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to the Carolina People. This morning we're at the new offices of the American Heart Association's Waccamaw Division, located here in Myrtle Beach on 44th Avenue North. We're focused on the local events surrounding the Police Unity Tour, and we're visiting with Officer Brenda Christy of the Myrtle Beach Police Department. Good morning, Officer Christy. Do you mind if I call you Brenda?
Please.
Since we're sitting here and you're not in uniform, and obviously we're in the Heart Association's office, what about these local offices?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, and thank you so much for having me this morning.
Oh yeah, Ryan Hannon was with us yesterday promoting the START, the big event which kicks off in October. I mean, obviously kicks off now, but the big walk itself, the celebration of START Waccamaw area is in October, and then later in the week, Linda Page from HCC will be with us. But of course, our real focus, she'll be with us on Friday morning, and Friday morning is a big day on the local scene, starting off down in, I think you said, in Georgetown, South Carolina at 7:30 in the morning. It's a wonderful event. The Police Unity Tour, it's comprised of local, state, and federal officers from all up and down the East Coast. They're actually riding from Glencoe, Georgia, all the way to Washington, D.C. on bicycles. Oh, come on.
That's 950 miles, and the purpose for their ride is to ride for all officers who've been killed in the line of duty. So their first stop is actually going to be in Georgetown, South Carolina at 7:30 in the morning on High Market Street at the Law Enforcement Center there to honor Officer Spencer Gary, who was killed in line of duty in 1994. After that ceremony, they'll be coming up to Myrtle Beach, to the Grand Strand, and they'll be stopping at Oceanwood Cemetery at 2408 South Kings Highway to honor our very first police officer who was killed in line of duty. He was actually killed in 1949, his very first day of duty. His name's Henry Howard Scarborough. So they'll be doing a short service there, and then they'll get back on Kings Highway on their bicycles and travel to our law enforcement center, Ted C. Collins Law Enforcement Center, 1101 Oak Street, for a ceremony for Officer Joe McGarry. He was a Myrtle Beach police officer killed in line of duty in 2002.
In 2002?
Yes.
Boy, Brenda. So it spans, at least on the Myrtle Beach side, it spans from the 1940s to 2002
Correct.
Of officers who'll be recognized.
Right, correct. Then after they leave our service, they're going to go out to Conway to honor all officers in Horry County that have been killed in line of duty at the Conway Courthouse. And that's going to be roughly at 12:30 in the afternoon, and all these services are open to the public. We'd really like to have the public present at these ceremonies.
What'll be very emotional ceremonies for a lot of folks there, and even for the folks who visit or have never attended an event like that. Probably a very powerful ceremony. I saw the itinerary for the two in Myrtle at 10:45 and 11:30, and obviously with the bagpipes playing and otherwise, I'm sure they're very emotional ceremonies.
Yes, absolutely. We have our honor guard, and the surviving family members for Officer Scarborough as well as Officer McGarry will be in attendance. Our honor guard will come in and lay a wreath at the sites of these officers, and then a local bagpipe organization, Myrtle Beach Regional Band, I believe, will be using their bagpipes and playing Amazing Grace to this. And we'll have some ceremony as far as a moment of silence and some prayer for the safety of these riders going all the way to Washington. There's also some presentations this year. The Myrtle Beach Police Department was actually able to raise some funds this year for the Police Unity Tour. And also, we also established a scholarship fund for Officer Joe McGarry. Officer McGarry was a graduate student at Webster University, and unfortunately he was tragically killed before he could graduate. So this year it's going to be actually a special year because through our efforts and the local community and business owners getting behind us, we're actually able to raise a little over $7,000 for this.
$7,000? That's tremendous.
Since February,
part of just in the last couple of months.
Right.
Part of that going to the Police Unity Tour, and obviously a big chunk, $5,000 of that going to the scholarship.
The surviving family members will actually be presenting the check for the amount that the City of Myrtle Beach Police Department was able to raise. And I think that's a very, very special honor. And the McGarry family will actually be presenting a check at their son's ceremony to dignitaries of Webster University for scholarship in Joe's honor.
That is wonderful. Another great reason for viewers all over the area to come on down and be there at the Ted C. Collins Law Enforcement Center at 11:30 on Friday morning, but even the event out at Ocean Woods, if they can only attend a couple events, and right here in Myrtle, if they can't be at Georgetown at 7:30, but possibly could even take lunch break there at 12:30 to be in Conway there at the courthouse to experience. It's must be a magnificent celebration of life, at the same time celebrating the officers for making the trip to honor folks who've been lost their lives.
And
Boy.
for those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. But yes, with 4 ceremonies at various times in the morning and then spreading on out into the afternoon, we're really hoping that if you can't make the Georgetown service, stop by for the Myrtle Beach services, or even out to Conway to the Conway services.
Absolutely. Brenda, real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
No, sir. I'm actually from Fairmont, West Virginia. Came down here with my family several times on vacation and just found Myrtle Beach to just be a wonderful place, not only to vacation, but then to ultimately live and start a career.
Absolutely. What year was that? Do you mind me asking, not to date you there, but
yeah,
just to, you've been in Myrtle Beach for quite a while.
Right. Yeah. Ever since I graduated college in '87, I was coming down, and then I started my career in law enforcement in '87 with the Myrtle Beach Police Department.
I saw that in November of '87.
Right.
So having just celebrated 2 decades of service.
Yes.
That is tremendous.
Really blessed.
Actually, next Thursday we will have Chief Deputy of the Horry County Sheriff's Office, Paul Butler.
Oh, great.
On the 8th, who will on the 9th be celebrating his 20 years of service in law enforcement. Paul Butler there. So the two of y'all should have gotten together and highlighted your 20-year recognitions together. That's fantastic. What is it about law enforcement that really got you interested 20 years ago, Brenda?
It's really just serving the public. Law enforcement sometimes can be seen in a negative aspect because obviously you have to incarcerate people at times, but it's also a good opportunity to reach out and actually help people, and I think that's what my calling is, and that's why I've been in this career. It certainly wasn't a career that I thought I was going to be in. I was kind of led in that direction, and I've been very blessed to be doing it this long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A little more about the Police Unity Tour. Clearly this is something that's old hat to you to some degree. I'll hold up this shot here for viewers. I think this was from, am I correct, 2006?
That's correct. 4 Myrtle Beach police officers in 2006 rode the 3-leg journey of this event, rode from Chesapeake, Virginia to Washington, D.C., and that's actually 250 miles in 3 days. And we were riding for the fallen officers, the Myrtle Beach officers, Officer Scarborough and Officer McGarry. So what an honor that was.
And who are the other folks here with you?
Michael DeMore, Bob Suter, and Kim Poirier.
Is that right? So y'all made you said 250 miles.
Yes, sir, in 3 days.
Now, no more, yes, sir, you're not in uniform, and we are casual here. It's a Tuesday morning, so we got to take it easy. But, of course, over a 3-day period, y'all were doing that. That is incredible. Obviously, the commitment there, and it's something that clearly the entire force wraps around. You 4 are the representatives for everybody to be up there, and that probably required quite a bit of training to get ready for that. How'd you prepare for that in 2006, Brenda?
Well, the Myrtle Beach Marathon, actually the day after that marathon, they have a bicycle ride. They have a 10-mile, 30-mile, and a 64-mile. And we committed to that ride, and we rode in that ride, and then we just kept training outdoors on our road bikes as well as indoor on stationary bikes. And it was quite a commitment. As you know, our terrain is very flat compared to the hills of Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
And when we hit Richmond, the hills were really pretty steep, and it was a very big commitment. And also, they ride in inclement weather. If it rains or if it's cold, they're riding for the officers that gave the ultimate sacrifice, so we don't stop just because the weather's bad. So it was quite a discipline to do that, and quite an honor.
In May, hopefully there wasn't any, was it in May also in 2006?
That's
hopefully
correct.
There wasn't any snow, but there was probably, did you all experience rain?
We did experience some rain.
Wow.
It wasn't severe, so that was a true blessing. But we also start very early in the morning, sometimes as early as 6 and 6:30 in the morning. So it's a little chilly in Virginia.
Right. Even in May, that's right.
Exactly. But it would warm up in the afternoons, and then it would get hot. So you experience different types of weather.
How exciting. I mean, how fascinating to think about that showing of as you go from town to town, or back in 2006, and what they're probably going to experience starting this Thursday and running through the following Thursday. As you go from town to town, are there departments that will meet you at different town intervals to kind of guide you along, or is it just these four, or in that instance, there how many folks that are riding along together?
There's several hundred riding,
Okay.
and you're exactly right, Greg. Many of the towns have had fallen officers, unfortunately.
Right.
Just in 2007 alone, we had over 300 officers killed in the line of duty in the United States. And that's what I really like to concentrate and let the public be aware of. So unfortunately, these other law enforcement agencies have lost one as well. And they'll go through the towns, the riders on the bicycles, and we'll stop and we'll honor these fallen officers. So many different cities and towns do the same thing that we as Myrtle Beach are hosting and doing for these officers.
Boy, Brenda, well, I know that is that's probably emotional for all of y'all, even not knowing those officers, knowing what they go through on a daily basis as they prepare when they wake up in the day, just getting ready for another day, knowing that anything could happen.
Absolutely. It really brings it home and puts it in perspective when you've lost some from your own department.
If a viewer has some time to be there this Friday at 7:30, let's say in Georgetown, or the 10:45 service at Ocean Woods Memorial Cemetery, even the one at 11:30 or 12:30 in Conway, about how long will the ceremony take? I know you highlighted obviously the bagpiping component and the band there. About how long will each of the ceremonies take, if they think they can take a little time off from work, or even if they could attend all of them?
Right. They average about 15 or 20 minutes. Again,
Okay.
we have a little special this year where the surviving family members will actually be presenting checks
Right.
and probably be making a statement on behalf of the loved one that they've lost. But normally they're about 15 or 20 minutes in length.
Okay, so that's something that probably folks can pull away from, although there'll probably be pretty dang big crowds at each of the events, but worthy of getting out, finding a way to get over there to the memorial ceremonies.
Right. We certainly do hope that we have big crowds and support from the public for this
Yes.
worthy event.
Absolutely. Police Unity Tour is not the only thing that you've put your focus on, Brenda. There's another big event coming up in the near term that I think I saw 20 men and women will be experiencing in.
Right, at the end of July, we'll be a group of 20 men and women from a local church here, Palmetto Shores Church. We'll be traveling to Zambia, Africa on a mission trip to an orphanage in Zambia. So I'm very excited about that. It'll be my first mission trip and my first time out of the country. So
Is that right,
yes.
Brenda? Wow. And to Zambia for your first trip out, as opposed to the Cayman Islands or to Europe or somewhere.
Right.
Your first trip into Zambia, Africa. Wow. What has prompted that trip?
Well, Greg, I just see a lot of adversity in life and a lot of struggles that we all, as just normal humans, go through on a daily basis. And instead of internalizing it and looking at the negative, I tend to focus on something that could be a positive or a silver lining in a bad, adverse situation. And I just decided that looking at things in the big picture, my life is very blessed compared to the insignificant things that go on around us that we tend to make bigger than they really are. And when you look at the struggles that third world countries have, the poverty, the lack of electricity, the food sources, the lack of water supply, the devastation that they have is just so tragic compared to where we've been born and raised, and we're so blessed, and we take that for granted. So I just want to go over and give of myself and be humbled and try to help those that have been less fortunate.
I was fascinated to see some of the facts and figures about Zambia that you provided to get ready for this morning's interview. That 20% of the population of almost 10 million people had been diagnosed with HIV positive, and the life expectancy had dropped from the mid-50s down, I think, 37 for the entire country.
And the age of the children, let's say you're 15 years old, the majority of those kids, 20% of those kids are orphans. Either both of their parents have died of AIDS, or at least one of them. And it's just tragic, the poverty that they live in, the lack of food, the lack of clean drinking water. Absolutely unacceptable.
We had a guest about a year ago from Carolina Forest, J.J. Iguli, who had visited with a group of locals from the Carolina Forest area, and he and his wife had actually lived over there for an extended period of time and had every effort to continue to go back. How did you get involved with the group here? You said this is it Palmetto Shores?
Palmetto Shores Church. I began attending there, I'd say, in November, and by early January, they were forming a new team. They've been over there 4 or 5 times,
wow.
this group.
The same group.
Right, and they're visiting a particular orphanage in Zambia, and then they're branching out to other villages in that area. And they had some open meetings and discussing just the poverty and the disease over there, and it really touched my heart. And I just wanted to give of myself, and they're affording me that opportunity to be able to do that.
Have they actually shared with you what a typical day will be like over there, or have you gotten some idea? Have you seen pictures of their trips to get an idea of what exactly will you be doing, Brenda?
Well, it's definitely not a vacation. We're going to an orphanage. There's roughly 45 children over in that orphanage, and not only will we be helping building and working basically in their village, we'll actually be ministering and witnessing to the children and then branching out into other areas of other villages. We'll also be taking over food supplies and other resources and tools for them to use after we're gone. But we're definitely going to try to build like a playground for the kids that they don't have any playground, and then just do some general work and repair that obviously the orphanage needs.
Tremendous, Brenda. And is there a native language over there that you all have some proficiency in, or do they speak English, or do they not speak much at all?
They don't speak much at all. There will be some interpreters on hand that'll be translating for us.
That's great. That's great. I know you'd gone through extensive efforts, as had the other 19 men and women that are going to raise funds for the trip. Is that something are you continuing to raise funds, or any of the other members continuing to raise funds? I suspect they need donations or otherwise across the board in Zambia.
Each individual has to raise $3,000 to go on this. $3,000. And I was blessed that I had cycled with the Police Unity Tour in 2006 and pretty much kept that as a hobby. So when the Myrtle Beach Marathon came in February, the day after the marathon, I actually sent out some support letters and said, hey, I'm going to ride this bicycle ride 64 miles. Can you please support me? Any kind of monetary donation that you can give me will be going for my Zambia trip to Africa. And I was able to raise some funds that way, but we continue to have yard sales. We're having a motorcycle run and a golf tournament in June. The motorcycle run will be Memorial Weekend, and then we'll have a golf tournament that'll be in June. To continue to raise proceeds for all of us to be able to go over there together. So
if someone contacted the church, what's the best way if they wanted to find a way to help out on raising funds for the Zambian mission trip? Is it to contact the church directly, or I should have talked to you earlier about their website or their phone number, but
they do have a website. Don't quote me on PalmettoShores.com. I don't want to say that, but it is Palmetto Shores. They're located at the Socastee Swing Bridge.
Great,
on
easy to find.
Yeah, Old Highway 544.
Right.
Or obviously they can contact me, Brenda Christy, at 251-6757. And I'll be glad to direct them to our pastoral staff or answer any questions that possibly I can answer.
That's tremendous.
251-6757.
I hate to ask you to give that over the air, but at the same time, you obviously want to raise funds for the event, and since I know you've done very well in your fundraising efforts, maybe not everyone else has finished raising the funds, and I'm sure that the folks in Zambia wouldn't mind if you go over your goal there.
Exactly.
And continue to raise more dollars. 843-251-6757. And the Myrtle Beach Herald, I think last week, had a lot of information. The church has got a lot of events going on in the next couple of weeks. I saw on our community calendar page there's a lot of activities going on at the church. That's a great new location, a very active church. Is that the church that's pastored by Ronnie Bird?
Ronnie Bird, yes, sir.
Yeah, formerly at the Myrtle Beach Community Church. I believe a lot of folks know Ronnie up and down the Strand, and that must be a very exciting place to be right now.
It is. It's growing, and we're just so excited for what God's doing and moving in all our lives, and we just want to share that not only locally but in other countries.
How about you, Brenda? What are some of the other things you do when you're not riding 250 miles or even getting out to promote some of the events, or of course planning a trip. And tell us again the trip dates there to Zambia.
We're going to be leaving here in Myrtle Beach July 31st on a bus going to Atlanta, Georgia, and then we'll fly out from Atlanta to London, and we'll be coming back from Zambia August 15th.
So you'll be gone a full 2 weeks.
Yes.
That is amazing. Golly, and to think again your first trip out of the country being to Zambia. How exciting.
It is exciting. I'm a little apprehensive, but I'm very excited and just hope that I can really do the work that I need to be doing, and that I'm humbled by my experience.
Right. You said the other 19 men and women. How many of them, to the best of your knowledge, have been before and will be experiencing for the second, third, fourth, or even fifth time?
I want to say between 7 and 10 of them have already been. And, yes, and they've gone multiple times to this area.
Right.
And they've seen the need, they've seen the struggles, and I'm just blessed to go under their leadership and help them do that work.
Y'all will continue raising funds all the way to July 31st.
Absolutely.
So another almost 3 months now. A little more than 3 months, May, June, and much of July,
right,
to raise funds. That's fantastic. Well, you know, obviously a big focus here on the Police Unity Tour, and to know on that stretch, that 250-mile stretch, the entire stretch you said is how long for the officers that are actually traveling all the way from Georgia up to the facility there in Washington, D.C.?
To Washington, to the Memorial Wall, is 950 miles.
900. How many officers would actually be doing that entire 950-mile trip, Brenda?
Actually, it's just usually 12 to 15 riders.
Right.
But then once we get into Chesapeake, there's 350 more riders that join that, and total could be as much as 600 riders.
Is that right?
And they're all law enforcement officers.
I was about to ask, does anyone ride that's not a law enforcement officer?
No, this is strictly for officers that are riding and that are active law enforcement officers, and they're riding for officers killed in the line of duty.
And we just got a couple of minutes. Clearly, they're out raising funds. Is it possible to still provide any funds for the Police Unity Tour?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can contact me.
Right.
Again, 843-251-6757, and we
Okay.
still have open accounts for that cause.
Absolutely. You know, it's so important when you think about every little dollar, any dollar that can really be added, whether it's to a scholarship at Webster University in memory of Joe McGarry, or to the Police Unity Tour, and for the dollars that are raised for that. I assume at some level those dollars are spread back to families or otherwise. What are most of the dollars raised for the tour itself? Where do those dollars go?
Well, the Police Unity Tour has to maintain the memorial wall.
Okay.
All the names, as I said, the 300 officers that were killed in line of duty, their names will be inscribed in that wall.
Right.
And they're also building a police museum and research facility on those grounds, and that's scheduled to open in 2011.
Okay.
And all the money that is raised will go to the new facility and the construction of that new facility, as well as concerns of police survivors. Some of those funds actually do filter back into surviving family members for officers killed in the line of duty.
Critical.
Absolutely.
Again, Officer Scarborough back in the 1940s. So there have only been 2 in the history of Myrtle Beach's police department, 2 officers. I say only, that's too many,
Too
clearly,
many.
but when you highlighted that 300 officers around the country were their lives taken in 2007 alone, a community that's both as small and as large as Myrtle Beach, a community that has millions of folks visiting the area. Clearly a lot more pressures on the police department than probably anyone ever imagined.
Right.
Probably anyone ever imagined. So Officer Scarborough, and you said what year was that? Brenda?
1949, and Greg, back in 1949, there were no compensation for surviving family members. Nothing had been set in place. It was almost unheard of that you would suffer a loss of that kind. So we're really blessed to not only make the public aware of it, but to be able to provide some funding and some assistance to these families.
And one of Officer Scarborough's daughters, I believe, has really been thrilled with the recognition that y'all not had finally provided, but were providing in a different way, as you say. helping to recognize her family
Yes.
and him for his loss of life there.
Yes, she lives here locally. She lives in the Garden City area, and she was
Right.
actually 15 years old when her father was killed. And she was just happy that we recognized that, and it gave her some peace of mind that he was a police officer when he was killed. Even though it was his very first day, he was still a police officer when he died.
Boy, Brenda, that's tremendous. Thanks so much for being with
Thank
us
you
this
so
morning.
much.
I'm sorry we've run out of time.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed being here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Officer Brenda Christy of the Myrtle Beach Police Department coming up next. Take the time, get out the pen and paper. We got 3 big events here, one international, one national, and one very local, all of them tied together, the common purpose of making a difference in others' lives. Think about this, kicking off this Thursday, May 1st, down there in Glencoe, Georgia, 12 to 15 officers riding an entire 950-mile trip. They're going to be coming through here in the Myrtle Beach area on this Friday, May 2nd. Think about it, 7:30 a.m. to recognize a special ceremony there to recognize Officer Gary of the Georgetown Police Department, rolling up into Myrtle Beach at 10:45 to honor and recognize Officer Scarborough at Ocean Woods Memorial Cemetery. And then the ride continues right on over to the Ted C. Collins Law Enforcement Center at 11:30. That's this Friday. Get out there, help recognize Officer Joe McGarry. His family will be there, a lot of other folks celebrating both his life but recognizing the extreme effort that folks go through, officers in particular, giving of their lives every day. 12:30 at the Conway Courthouse right there in the center of town, recognizing all officers whose lives have been lost in Horry County. Take the time to get out there. Take the time. It'll be a special day this Friday. We heard Brenda talk about another very special event kicking off on July 31st as they roll down to Atlanta and get on that flight over to London and heading over to Zambia, Africa. A special event. You can be a part of that. PalmettoShoresChurch.com. PalmettoShoresChurch.com or 843-246-7880. They still need some dollars. The 2008 Africa mission trip still needs some dollars. You got 3 months to be a part of that. Give them a call, 246-7880, and help recognize the efforts that Officer Brenda Christy is going through as well. Brenda, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.